Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
Welcome back.
MisFitNation.
We are a show founded by veterans and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share some of your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or entrepreneur, come on and share how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or star family, we'd love to have you come on and just share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkest, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or are embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you're a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation. Be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast apps and also on our YouTube channel at @_MisfitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date with our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Electrocast Media and About Face Radio. This will keep you tuned in to us and learn about our great guests. All right. Welcome back. Speaking of our great guests, our next guest is an expert in strategic risk and business growth. Drawing on decades of experience in the insurance industry, he wrote the Bezos letters, 14 Principles to Grow Your Business Like Amazon, which has become a Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and international bestseller. With hundreds of thousands of followers, he has been handpicked by LinkedIn as one of the world's most influential thought leaders. So without further ado, let's welcome Steve Anderson to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Steve.
Rich, thank you. It's great to be here.
It's awesome to have you on. I know it's been a little while since we scheduled this and had to have some flexibility as usual in life. Things happen.
Life happens, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And a lot of times it's a curveball. You can't get that bat on. So you have to take a step back and adjust and do what you have to do to make it through. So, Steve, I gave a little bit about you there, just basically a little blurb from your bio. If you don't mind, tell us a little more about yourself from as far back as you want to go to how we got to the Bezos letters and where we are now.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I would say I'll go back as far as when I first started working after college, started working in the insurance industry for an independent agency. So working with multiple insurance companies, selling to individuals, home, auto, typical, and businesses. And spent about 13 years at that agency and developed a real interest in technology. And again, this was started in the late 70s and the 80s. Lots of new stuff coming, and it just really intrigued me. Ended up moving to Dallas-Fort Worth area and working for another agency there in the 90s. And again, continued that interest both in insurance and technology. Well, into the 90s, decided to go out on my own and really focus on helping those insurance agents that I had become quite familiar with what they do and how they do it, and with technology. And as we know, technology continues to develop rapidly. Back then it was websites and social media was just barely starting. What do they do with it? How do they leverage it and all those kinds of things? Again, fast forward. So literally the last 25 plus years, I've done research, writing, speaking, and consulting around technology, new developments. And one of the things that really became apparent to me was blending the technology and the insurance. So we know insurance is all about reducing risk, right? We buy an insurance policy. So if we have an auto accident, we have funds available to get the car fixed. If anybody's injured, help out with that. But with technology, that mindset doesn't work as well. And I started asking the question, is the biggest risk insurance agents face? And then started asking it more broadly to business owners actually not taking enough risk. So that was sort of the germ of the idea. Started looking at different companies, some very successful at one point, and some names I think, probably recognize, between BlackBerry and Blockbuster and Sears and CompUSA and Borders bookstores, very successful at one point and no longer here. So started looking, okay, what happened? Why? Also looked at companies that had continued to grow, and that's where I came across Amazon and started trying to understand, okay, what's different between some of those other companies and what Amazon had done. Found the letters to shareholders that Jeff Bezos wrote starting in 1997. They first went public, and then through 2018 at the time, and realized that he literally had laid out his plan, what I call hidden in plain sight, in those letters for growing Amazon. And as I continued to digest those, I realized there were some principles that he followed that I think could apply to really anybody, and certainly business. But what I'm finding is I get lots of messages from nonprofits, religious organizations that see some benefit in some of those principles. So my first iteration was literally a what I called a white paper, one-page summary of each of those letters, highlights of the letter, some key takeaways and some key quotes. Fortunately, my wife's been in the book business for many, many years. Showed it to her. She showed it to a publisher. They both came back immediately and said, this is a book, not a white paper. So that started about an 18-month journey of, okay, how do I figure out how to actually write a book now? So that's condensed version of obviously quite a few years along the way.
Definitely. And I like that. You had the expert right in your house, and that's good, and brought it to the publisher. And
well, her name is on the book,
okay.
Co-author, and there's a reason for that. So
you have the expert, and they always having an expert around you to say, hey, open your eyes and turn the light on. This is what you really need to do.
Yeah.
That helps out a lot.
Yeah, very much so.
It's beautiful to have the in-house expertise too, instead of having to reach way far out.
Yep.
You mentioned a lot of very famous organizations that are no longer with us, and the fact of the matter is that they didn't grow when they needed to, or didn't evolve when they needed to.
Yes.
And they missed the bus.
And didn't change, didn't update. I mean, BlackBerry's a great one. iPhone was announced, and there were co-CEOs at the time, and their comment was, nobody's going to want to type on a glass keyboard.
Yeah.
Because if you remember BlackBerry, it had that great keyboard everybody loved.
Yes.
Until they found something better, right? And BlackBerry was all focused on business, not consumer. iPhone was consumer. That took over and swallowed up business. And so lots of, kind of lessons there, certainly.
Yeah, I think the last Blockbuster just closed either the beginning of this year or end of last year in the Northwest. So the last
Bend, Oregon was the last Blockbuster. It's now an Airbnb.
Oh, wow. I wonder if they have video cassettes in there for everyone to rent.
Yes, exactly.
mean, that was I mean, I used to love going to Blockbuster, not just to get movies. They always had the great candy selection too.
Yep,
And
exactly. Candy and popcorn and all the stuff you need, right?
it was always at the end cap where my daughter would see it right away when she was little, and you had to get it because that's where they put it. So
And there was a reason they put it there.
exactly, and that's why they were successful for so long until the light
Yep.
turned off. So
Yep. Well, and
but
honestly, in their case, until Netflix came along,
yeah,
and again, DVDs had just started coming out, and now you could rent and get them in the mail, but no late fee. So you could keep them as long as you wanted. And Blockbuster just couldn't make that business shift to a different type of model.
yeah. Remember the little red envelopes from Netflix, and now Netflix is its own. It evolved into its own monster itself, as now it's
Yes.
the streaming service for the world, basically. So
Yep.
they're
Exactly.
they're continuing to see the future mindset instead of staying with their old and trusty habits.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the keys. It again back at Amazon is they're always looking at what's next, and kind of that risk taking is my first principle, is encourage successful failure, and that's one of the things Bezos did early on at Amazon. Is in his kind of mindset, you have to experiment to find out what you're going to invent on behalf of the customer. And if you're going to experiment, you're going to fail, because if you do an experiment and you know it's going to work, it's not an experiment, right? But you don't know what's going to work unless you try different things. And that's something that's been consistent throughout their, 26 years now of growing and developing as a company.
And to look where he started, basically in a garage setting to do it,
Yep.
and now there's, I guess, distribution centers throughout the country. We have
Well,
one
throughout the world. Yeah.
throughout the
I
country.
mean, exactly. And all of that we see now started as, we're not quite sure how this is going to work, but let's try this.
Right.
And that either worked or it didn't work. They learned from it, then let's try that. And it worked. I mean, so it just kept going.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
again, logistics,
Yes.
computing platforms, Amazon Web Services, and then third-party marketplace, right? Having third-party small businesses sell right on their pages. The crazy idea. Who does that
Right.
except Amazon? Because another principle is they were obsessed over their customers. And so it was better for customers. It would be better for Amazon in the long run. And too many companies think short-term, not long-term.
Exactly. They think of basically the 5 meter target instead of the 50 meter target, and
Yep.
they fall short when they're running to that 50 meter target later.
Yeah.
He built a distribution center in Nashville here, and then now they're building one just basically we're 40 miles away from there. They're building another one right in our town here, which is not even half the size of Nashville. So
Yeah.
he understands the growth process here just in Tennessee, and the
Well,
biggest competition here is FedEx.
yeah, and I'm outside Tennessee in Franklin, and so I'm always surprised when I order something and they say they can have it to me in 6 hours.
Right.
And I was like, how does that work? And I've been fortunate. I've been in and toured 2 different fulfillment centers. It's an amazing operation. It's complicated, and it runs like clockwork most of the time.
Like everything, there's going to be those little nuances of problems when they're doing things,
Yep.
and new people, new systems, things tend to go awry at sometimes. You can
Yeah.
see their drivers all seems like they're always trying to sprint. Once they get someplace, they stop, they do their little scan in the truck, they take their picture, and they run back to the truck, and they're on it again.
Yep. And they're on their way. Exactly.
And you get that text, and you get the little message saying 9 stops from your house. Say, no
Yeah.
way, it's 9 stops from my house. How do you know?
Yep.
It always excites me.
Yes, exactly.
My wife doesn't like it much when I spend a lot on Amazon, but they have everything I need right there. It's better than walking into Walmart.
Yes, it is. Yep, I agree.
So why do you think it was crucial for him to become more customer, I guess, obsessed than to just be customer
Well,
focused?
and a lot of these started at the very beginning. So in his 97 letter, he actually laid out his philosophy. And one of those was, we will obsess over customers. And that's been a core belief at Amazon from the very beginning to now. I mean, if you look at it, that's what they do. And it's, companies talk about customer focus and customer journey, and they talk about customers a lot, but I've always felt it was really interesting that he used the word obsess, because that certainly has some negative connotations too, right? Like it's too much.
Right.
But when it comes to customers, can you be too much focused on customers? And he believes no. And another phrase he uses throughout the letters is, we invent on behalf of our customers. And again, lots of examples there. Customers weren't asking for a Kindle e-reader, but and I'm kind of paraphrasing, quoting, he said, we had the audacious goal to reinvent something that's been around for 500 years, meaning the book. And what he realized as they were experimenting with different ideas is that the beauty of a book is it actually fades away once you're in the story. And so that's what they wanted to design the Kindle to do. And they weren't the first with e-readers, but the e-readers prior to theirs, you always had to hook up to a computer. One of their great inventions was download a book, and one of their goals with the Kindle was download a book in 60 seconds or less and begin reading. So they built in wireless access, and you didn't need to hook up with a cable to a computer to get a book on the device. And again, they've kept iterating into their latest version, which is the Kindle Scribe, which is almost a tablet size that you can actually write on with a pen. So they keep working on improving what they have.
Know a lot of people like either highlight things in a book or write notes in the margins and such. So now you can do that even on the electronic version. So that
exactly,
especially if you're a college student or a master's or doctorate or whatever, and you have to read 8 billion things and have to take those notes as you're going. That's the best thing to do, best thing to have. It's much easier than highlighting on PDF on your computer and then trying to figure out what you highlighted.
And where is it?
Without having
exactly.
So that's another forward-thinking way he did things there, and still doing things as they continue to evolve with the times.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's, again, as we kind of make a comparison, which is what I did, that's one of the things that is different. They're one, willing to admit failure and close things down. Two, they're always testing and trying to figure out, okay, how can we do this better? Partly customer obsession, partly dynamic invention and innovation. So there are a number of principles that go on there that have helped them keep growing, keep improving, and keep the focus on customers and how they interact with them.
Definitely, and I think they're doing a great job, especially like you said, they started 99, 97, 98, 99. So I remember that when they first came out, they offered like affiliate programs for people to share your link and get people to go through your link to buy stuff, and then you get like a percentage. And that has evolved too, as where you can now share your link and maybe get some Amazon dollars or something like that.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, a little, make a little bit of money on recommendations. So yes, and they were some of the early adopters of some of that technology. So again, what's best for customers, and they had 3 customer pillars from the beginning. Low prices, and they're not always absolute lowest, but low prices, fast delivery, and wide selection. And he says in one letter, he says, we don't think our customers will want higher prices, less selection, and slower delivery. And so that's been, again, their focus on like the trucks and delivery and Prime and in 1 to 2 day delivery. And, certainly we saw that explosion during the lockdowns with the pandemic where, people absolutely relied upon Amazon to get stuff they needed.
And lots of things they probably didn't need, but they wanted because they were so
Well,
bored. They
yeah,
just bought
and
stuff.
that's certainly Amazon hopes that's the case, but no question. But absolutely, yeah,
I know they wanted to make sure you had everything you needed, but they also were, in the back of their mind, there's stuff that they're going to want when they go through there. So we'll just put
yep,
these things based on their search history. So as soon as you open Amazon, your search history comes up, and based off
yeah,
this purchase, maybe you'd like this.
yeah. Or people who bought this also like that,
Right?
right? All of those things. And again, most of that they developed. And, some people don't like that. I actually do because it helps narrow down the, you know, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands potential items into more of the ones that I think may fit what I'm actually looking for. So I see it as a benefit.
And they'll also tell you the things that you need. If you buy, say, this big product, you probably need these two products with it to make it really work at its optimal
Right.
level.
Yeah,
So they tell you and they give
exactly.
you a good price for it at the same time. So that
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's an amazing trend that they do. You don't get that anywhere else. You can go on Best Buy and you'll just have the same price for each item, each of those three items at
Right.
$200,
Yep.
$200, $200. No
Yeah.
discount delivery. So
Well, and again, that's part of their original strategy, even for their website. Amazon never really advertised that much. They relied on word of mouth because what Bezos said is if our customers have a great experience on our website, they're going to tell other people, hey, have you gone here? And they continued to build and develop that streamlined experience, which continues to bring more and more customers into their site, which actually allows them to negotiate better pricing with manufacturers because their volume increases. I mean, it's just this um, interesting, they call the virtual cycle, right? We work on all of these things and everything gets better for the customer and for Amazon.
definitely. We spoke about the e-readers or Kindle earlier. They started out basically just selling books when they first started, and then kind
Right.
of moving to products. Now and then they evolved into publishing books, doing the self-publishing for people,
Yep.
and that's another great move too, because now you're cutting out the big publishing company. Having me or you can just write a book and it goes in there. They do most of the work after you get it in there. We each split the profits basically, so it's a
Right.
win-win for the
Exactly.
author and
And
for them.
honestly, typically an author gets more money. Again, there are reasons to publish with a publisher. And if you can't get that, then this could be a great option for a lot of people. And typically you get a bigger cut of the sales of a book in that type of model.
Right. Especially if they go to the ebook way, you get way
Right.
more than you would
Yep.
if it was the printed way. Yes.
Exactly.
So I think that was another amazing home run hit that they did there, and it's helping many people get their voice out there that probably would never have their books out there.
Yeah. No, I agreed. And again, that's, I keep coming back to this, but that's all part of that customer obsession. How can we help authors better? How can we help, moms at home better by having, subscription services of stuff they know they're going to be reordering and not have to worry about remembering to do that. I mean, all these little things are pieces and components that fit into the bigger picture for Amazon.
Do you think that Bezos would have grown Amazon as big as it is if he wasn't willing to take risks?
No, I don't. In fact, I call him the master of risk um, because of how he views risk strategically. So again, really core idea for me is this encourage successful failure idea. And he talks a lot about that. And he talks a lot about programs that didn't work and that they closed. But what they learned, they came back and tried another version of it. And so he's not afraid. I think too many business owners and entrepreneurs, people who are starting new businesses, often are thought of as risk takers, but I actually don't know that they are. And again, there's this balance of too much risk and not enough risk. And so when I say taking risk as a business, it really is, how do well, at Amazon, let me say it this way. It's not just willy-nilly, let's see if it works. It's a very thought out, strategic process that they go through to try and mitigate a failure. So they don't look to fail, but they're not afraid of failure because they know it can help move things forward.
Right.
And he has a whole interesting childhood and background and growing up that I think helped reinforce that idea of risk taking. One of them is he spent from about age 6 to about 16, so about 10 years, he spent every summer at his grandfather's ranch in West Texas. And they were miles from anything. So they had to be reliant on their own skill and ingenuity to fix things because they couldn't just run to the corner hardware store. And so I think he learned a lot there about how to think about problems, how to come up with solutions, and how to put them together to make them work.
And sometimes lessons you probably didn't think were great growing up turn out to be home runs for you when you come out the house and do things. Yeah,
very much so.
A lot of things that we thought were stupid or dumb that our parents were telling us. Actually, if you look back, when you become a parent, like now I understand. Now I understand what's
changes happening when you're on the parent side versus the kid side, right?
Yeah, the perspective changes pretty much at that point.
Yes, no question about it.
So, Steve, if you want to share what are the 4 growth cycles that every successful company must always be perpetually in?
So when I came up with the 14 principles, that's a lot. So what I started thinking about, is how do these principles fit into where a business might be at any point in time? And so that's where the cycles came in. And there are 4, as you said: test, build, accelerate, and scale. Test is courage, successful failure. Build is obsess over customers, long-term thinking. Accelerate, okay, now that we've got an idea, we've tested it, it's starting to appear to be successful. How do we accelerate that growth and not get really stuck in bureaucratic? Too many businesses, when they grow, get bureaucratic, and that just slows down growth. And then scale is kind of what's that last step of really scaling into a larger, long-term company that's viable over time. And again, I think there some of the principles there is focus on high standards, maintain your culture, measuring what matters, but questioning what's measured. So I think it helps, and I've been told it helps people understand where the principles may apply. And I believe every business, small or larger, is going through these cycles. And the larger the business, it may be a division's at a different place than the other parts of the company. And I think it just helps give a framework, to look at. And for me, it's, in writing the book, it's applying it. It's not just theory. How does this actually help and work in a company?
Outstanding. And I like how you break that down into the 4 areas. And if we're not scaling as we're growing, we need to understand what scaling has to do with the growth of a business. If you go too big too soon, you might not be able to keep up with it logistically at all. And then you collapse and
then you're gone.
Right. And then on the other side, if you scale too far back, you're also going to be gone. You won't be able to keep up with demand on the opposite end. So you got to find that happy space in the middle to really hit it out of the park and win.
Exactly. Totally agree. And I would say one of if I have a favorite principle, it might be the last one, principle 14 in the scale area. It's called believe it's always day one. And a short story there, Bezos was in front of an all hands meeting in Seattle, a regular occurrence every quarter or so. And he had kind of finished a company update and had opened it up for questions from employees. And they had submitted questions beforehand. So he had some note cards. And he looked down at the next question and he said, he kind of chuckled a little bit. He said, I think I know the answer to this. And the question was, Jeff, what does day 2 look like? A little background there. Day 1 is something that was part of what he talked about from the very beginning. And in fact, he closed every single shareholder letter with some version of, it's still day 1, it's always day 1. Even with the problems this year, it's still day 1. But here's what he said about day 2. Day 2 is stasis, followed by irrelevance, followed by excruciating, painful decline, followed by death. And that's why it's always day 1. And day 1's really a mindset around being excited like the first day you opened your business. And I think I always then go back to the Blockbusters and the Borders and right, all of those companies fit into that day 2, right? And it could take a long time. Some of those companies were around a long time, but they were going down, not going up. Right. So I think that in terms of a mindset is an important one for any organization, I would say.
I think that day 1 mindset is also can be equated to, say, a successful football coach who every time brings the team at football at halftime, hey, it's 0-0, you got 30 minutes to win this game. No matter what the score is, if you're winning by 30 or whatever, it's 0-0. Is that way to keep fighting and keep going to the victory.
Yep. And we certainly have some recent games that played itself out, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yes. The recent past will show you a lot of those things, and
exactly.
A lot of people went home hurting at the end. So
yes, it's like, oh darn,
dang it, Steve. This has been great chatting with you. If you can give 3 tips to that young or any age person that's starting their business and wanting to be successful, what would that be?
Well, I would say. Really, literally 3 some of we talked about come to mind. One is be willing to experiment, and try and mitigate the downside of failure. So figure out what that looks like. I think 2, have a mindset of obsessing over customers. And again, you're going to be focused on customers, but do you obsess? Do you go overboard? I think that's important. And then the third one is that day 1 mindset, that you keep that excitement every day when you walk into your office, your store, your manufacturing plant, whatever it is, keep that excitement going, because that's what will keep you going. And that's what will keep your employees going and keep your customers coming back and wanting to continue to do business with you.
Outstanding. Thank you, Steve. And how does someone get in contact with you or check things out that you're doing now?
So really 2 primary ways. One is the website for the book is thebezosletters.com. And there's some additional material there that might help if you read the book. Second is LinkedIn is my primary social platform that I'm on. So Steve Anderson, probably can search for me. You might see insurance stuff and you might see book stuff. So those are kind of the 2 primary things that I do. But yeah, let me know that you heard me here and I'll be glad to connect with you if you'd like.
Outstanding. Once again, Steve, thanks for being flexible and thanks for sharing your knowledge today with us.
My pleasure, Rich. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. It's themisfitnation.com to catch up on all of our episodes and also to get some of that great Misfit Nation gear. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are Misfit Nation.